Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today I'm going to be explaining all of my autofill champions for my solo queue to sovereign journey so that you guys can potentially copy the champion builds and the champion runes, spells, as well as understanding how all the abilities work. There's going to be four main champions that we're going to talk about. For jungle and top lane, we're going to have Warwick and Wukong. Both of them I'm going to play jungle and top whenever I'm autofilled. I'll also play Echo, but I explained Echo in my mid lane, my first champion overview section already, but I'll also play Echo for jungle. For ADC, I'll play Varus, and for support, I'll play mostly Thresh. Obviously, I may play other champions every now and again, but that's going to be most commonly what I do. So starting off with Warwick. So first we're going to describe the Baron lane build, and then we'll go into the jungle build. So for Baron lane, you're going to rush your boots right away. You're going to either go plated steel caps if your laner does mostly attack damage, and you're going to do mercury treads if your laner does mostly magic damage. Then after that, you're going to go for Trinity Force if they are not a Heartsteel builder, and if they are a Heartsteel builder, again, your laner, then you're going to go Sunderer, Divine Sunderer, that is. Then you're going to go Wit's End if the enemy have a little bit of magic, like a decent amount of magic damage on their team. Even just one magic damage dealing champion, if that champion is relatively strong, then you'll go for Wit's End next. And then if they have basically no or very little magic damage, then you're going to go for Terminus second instead. Then if you go Wit's End second, you go Terminus third. If you go Terminus second, then you're going to go Death Dance third. Then for your last two items, it's going to be situational tank items, but most commonly Twin Guard and Spirit Visage. If you need anti-heal, you're often going to want to go for Thornmail in one of these two slots, but you can also potentially go for Morellonomicon if you need anti-heal, and you can replace Terminus or replace Wit's End with that. So that's pretty much the gist of the build for Baron lane, and the only difference for jungle is that you're going to go the exact same build, except you're going to rush Trinity Force and then go defensive boots after that. But apart from that, pretty much everything else is going to be the exact same. And then for the enchant, you're going to go Gargoyle, and oftentimes you'll go Gargoyle after you have finished your completed item and your boots, your first completed item and your boots. Then we have runes. These are going to be the runes for Baron lane. Grasp with these runes that you see here, and then for jungle you're going to go for these runes right here, again empowerment, and then the rest of the runes that you see. That's going to be typically what you do. Obviously you go ignite if you're playing top lane, and if you go jungle, obviously you go smite. So that's going to be the gist of Warwick. Then moving on to Wukong. So for Wukong, again, we'll explain both Baron lane and jungle. So the same thing is basically true where if you're Baron lane, you're going to rush boots. If you're not Baron lane, then you're going to go the first item, then boots. So for first item, you're either going to do Serpent's Fang if they have a bunch of shielding, Youmuu's Ghostblade if they're really, really squishy, or Trinity Force if they're middle to tankier, kind of health overall. If you go for Youmuu's or Serpent's Fang first, then you're basically going to put Trinity Force second and then do all of these other item options one slot later. And then if you go for Trinity Force, you're basically going to follow this exact build path, which will almost always be Sundered Sky second, Mortal Reminder third, Twin Guard fourth. And then last item will be either Zeke's Convergence if you need more armor, or Canic Rockern / Mob Malmortius. I would more often go Mob Malmortius if you need magic resistance. That's pretty much going to be the gist of the build. So again, say that you did go Youmuu's or Serpent's Fang first, then you would just go Trinity second item, then you would go Sundered Sky, then Mortal Reminder, then Twin Guard. Most of the time this is going to be the case. Again, you guys, sometimes different situational tank items fit games really well. Maybe you need a Frozen Heart because they have a bunch of auto attackers. Maybe you need random ones because they have a bunch of crit. And you can do those things, but again, this is going to be the most typical build. And that's going to be for both jungle and top lane again. Then for the different runes. So for Baron lane, you're going to go for these runes. Again, Grasp with basically the same runes that you would go with Warwick. And then if you're in jungle, there's three separate rune choices you can go. So you're always going to go these lower runes that you see. You're always going to go the Precision Tree with Resolve as your secondary. But when it comes to the Keystone, you're going to go First Strike if they're really squishy and you really want to one-shot them. You're going to go Conqueror if they're really tanky and they're easy to stick onto. And then you're going to go Phase Rush if you really need to stick onto them and they have a lot of mobility and they're hard to kind of chase down. So that's kind of going to be the gist of Wukong. Next up, we have Varus, so let's go on to Varus. Sometimes I'll also play Quirky ADC, but again, I described Quirky in my mid lane video. So for Varus, you're always going to go Boots of Dynamism, then you're always going to go Essence Reaver, Then second item, you go Edge of Night most games, but if you really need anti-shield, then you can go Serpent's Fang second item. Third item is always Mortal Reminder. Fourth item is basically always Riftmaker. And then fifth item, you can either go Serpent's Fang if you went Edge of Night second, or you can go for any defensive items such as Guardian Angel if they have a lot of AD, Mav Malmortius if they have a lot of AP, and that's pretty much kind of going to be the gist of it right there. And if you really have just like no other option and you don't need Serpent's Fang, you could go for Duskblade in the final slot. Typically, you're going to go Stasis or QSS for your enchant. QSS means Quicksilver enchant, and you're going to usually do that after your third item, so after you finish Mortal Reminder. You're always going to go these same runes. The Hex Flash really helps with the mobility. Transcendence really good for your cooldowns, and Mana Flow Ban helps because you do run out of mana a bit in the early game. Gathering Storm really good for the scaling. And then for spells, you're going to go Exhaust if they have a lot of assassins and burst damage. Barrier if they only have poke, and that's pretty much all that they have. And Cleanse if they have a lot of CC. Champions, you know, like Morgana, like Nautilus, whatever, stuff like that. And then the final champion for the build that we have is Thresh. So for Thresh, always go Relic Shield, then rush your defensive boots, go Steel Caps. If they have a lot of AD, go Mercury Treads if they have a lot of AP. Then you're going to choose between Warmogs and Heartsteel. So if they have more poke and more long range damage, you go Warmogs. If they have a lot of melee champions, then you go Heartsteel. Then you can go Mantle of the 12th Hour for just like something that's good into everything. It gives you all of the stats you need, very good into every damage type, very consistent. But if they're full AD, obviously in those cases you're going to build like a full armor build. Like you might build Frozen Heart second if you need it, or Randuin second, or whatever armor items work. So of course with tank builds it's a lot more situational, but most often I'm going to follow the path of these boots, then Warmogs or Heartsteel, then usually Mantle unless they only have one damage type, then we'll go all magic resist or all armor, obviously. And then for the last situational items, oftentimes I'll go Force of Nature for magic resistance plus movement speed, because you do have you do struggle against magic damage if you don't have decent amounts of magic resist, because you get armor from your passive. So that's oftentimes what I'm going to go for, will be Force of Nature. And then Thornmail is a common last item, but again, you can go pretty much anything from Deadman's if you need it, to Frozen Heart, to Randuin's. In the situations, those are useful. For runes, you're going to always go Glacial, and then you're also always going to go these runes. Hex Flash is really good for your engages. Transcendence helps with your cooldowns on your abilities. And then Demolish helps whenever you're winning lane to take turrets a lot quicker, get plates, and kind of snowball the game. And then Bone Plating is just generally good on most tanky champions. So overall, that's it for the builds of the 4 different champions. Now I'm going to go and describe the abilities of each of them in the practice tool. Okay, so starting off with Warwick, basically his auto attacks deal more damage. Pretty straightforward, does more magic damage. And then while he's below 50% health, he'll heal for 100% of the damage dealt. So basically more healing when you're lower health. So he's essentially a champion that's really strong on lower health. So now to describe the abilities. So the first ability, his first ability has 2 separate parts to it. So either you can use your first ability by just tapping it, and it will basically swipe at the person, deal damage to that person, and it'll also heal you for a percentage of the damage dealt. And then you can also drag your ability, and then it'll dash. So if you drag the first ability, it dashes like this, and if you tap it, it just, you know, bites them in place. Something else that's important to note is that the cooldown, so we'll go back to the cooldown here, put the cooldown up. And so notice how if I first ability this minion, my cooldown is 6 seconds. But then notice if I last hit a minion, once I get my first ability back up, if I last hit a minion, the cooldown goes down to 3 seconds. So the cooldown gets put in half if you last hit a minion with it, which is important to note as well. So now going on to the second ability. So the second ability has a really important passive to it, which is what we'll explain first. Anytime that a champion is below 50% health, you gain 40% movement speed towards that champion and 60% attack speed against any enemy that's below 50% health. And then they increase to 150% of the bonuses when they're below 35%. So basically, when someone is below 50% HP, you get a mark towards them and you can run at them and you see like a trail at them. And then your second ability is basically activating that. So it pretty much just activates that passive even when someone's above 100 or above 50% health. So then you can see them where they are on the map and you mark them basically. So if you notice here, for example, I'm about to use my second ability and it'll mark that minion and or that dummy, and you can see how now I see exactly where it is, and if I run towards it, I'm faster than I otherwise would be because of it. So basically, you get that passive anytime someone's below 50% HP, but then you can click it and then you instantly activate that passive on the closest enemy. It's a really long cooldown as well. And then also just note that you can only use that ability out of combat. So for example, right now I'm about to go fight this thing, and then I can't click my second ability. You see how my second ability is grayed out because I'm fighting the dummy? But then I'll run away from the dummy, stop fighting it, and then it'll become red because now I can use it. So that's important to keep in mind. After that, we have the third ability. So the way the third ability works is when you cast it the first time, you get damage reduction for 2.5 seconds. And then after it expires, it will fear the enemy near you. So if I just let it expire, it will fear the enemy near me. But then I can recast that ability if I want. And so basically, if I wait a second after using it and then I recast it, then it can fear the person early before it actually fully expires. But if I recast it before a second, then it does nothing. So you can see how here I recasted too quickly and then it does nothing. If I wait a second and then I recast it, it will fear the person away from me. So it's really good for damage reduction, for running away from someone if they're dealing damage to you or going on someone right as you know they're going to deal a lot of damage for you. And then you fear them after you recast it. And then the final thing is the ultimate. The ultimate is a long dash that dashes you onto a target and then gives you an empowered auto attack. And if you auto attack someone with that empowered auto attack, you suppress them and then deal damage to them. So you can see here how I end up dealing a bunch of damage to the target after dashing onto them. So keep in mind, if you dash onto them and don't auto attack, you don't get the bonus. You don't get the suppression, but you get the suppression as soon as you auto attack the first person near you. And that bonus auto attack lasts for 2.5 seconds. So I can go here, then I could flash onto the person, then auto attack them as well, stuff like that. And so now we'll talk about the basic combo. So the first combo that's common would be third ability, ultimate, and then first ability. So I'm just going to third ability, ultimate, auto attack them to get the auto attack off, and then I'll first ability onto them as well. And then I'll just make sure to continue to auto attack in between my abilities. Also keep in mind that your first ability is an auto attack reset. So you first ability auto attack, you auto attack, first ability auto attack, and it'll do the second auto quicker. So again, auto attack, first ability auto attack. And then generally when you're running at someone, you're going to want to activate your second ability onto them before you run at them. And then you're going to third ability onto them. You can dash onto them, fear them away. And then as they're running away, if they dash away or whatever, you can ult onto them late if you want instead. So that's kind of going to be the gist of Warwick, the gist of his combos, kind of everything like that. And so now we'll go into the next champion. I'll let you guys stay here with me as I'm switching champions because I'm too lazy to edit because editing is boring. So now we have Wukong. Going on to Wukong. Initially, we'll describe the passive again. The passive, basically, you get a stack every time that you damage an enemy, up to 3 stacks. And each stack gives you an amount of armor and then also heals you for a % of your max health. So basically, you get tankier the more you damage someone, is the gist of it. Then the first ability empowers your auto attack to become longer range and then does more damage. I believe that's all there is. Basically, to that ability, just empowers your auto attack. And then you also get the passive here where it enhances Golden Staff's empowering effects on attacks every 7.5 seconds, increasing the bonus damage by 50%. And the next attack after that gets bonus range. So basically, no matter what ability you use, you get bonus range on it. So if you can see here, I'll reset my level. Or that's wrong. I'll reset my level here. I'll only do this. I won't get bonus attack. Notice how I don't get bonus attack range here. But then notice once I level up my first ability, now I get bonus attack range, even though I'm using a different ability. So after you have your first ability, you get bonus attack range and damage on every ability that you use after using it, or you get a bonus damage and attack range on your next auto attack after any ability. So that's basically the gist of your first ability. Then your second ability is a pretty cool ability. So basically it dashes you in a direction, briefly making you invisible and spawning a clone of yourself. So what's cool about that is you can control the clone's movement based on where your joystick, you see the joystick on the bottom left of my screen right now, wherever that joystick is pointed towards, when you click your second ability is where your clone will walk to. So I'm going to hold my second ability down like this. I'm going to put my joystick going this way, and then notice how the clone goes there and I'm going this way. So you can use it to trick people because it will walk in the direction of whoever of wherever you put it. So again, I can, someone can be chasing me, I can run away, but then I do that, and then boom, now they think I'm running there, but I actually turn this way, and it's kind of confusing to the enemy, that type of thing. And then the clone will also mirror your abilities. So notice how I'll use my second ability, then I'll third ability, it dashes onto them, then it also uses my first ability on them. It uses the ultimate as well. I'll show you guys here. It uses the ultimate as well. You can use all the abilities. The abilities will do less damage from the clone, but the clone still does the abilities and does do damage. Then your third ability is a dash onto someone, and it also increases your attack speed when you dash onto someone. So pretty straightforward there. And then your ultimate just does damage in a circle and knocks people up. And then you get a second cast. If you recast it, it also does that. So I'll put back on 0 C or take off 0 CD. I'll do, there we go. So now you see the first cast is here, and then there's a second cast now. So you get 2 casts of the ultimate. And that is the gist of Wukong. Then we'll just quickly describe the combos. So a pretty common combo would be, if you want to close the gap on someone's second ability, third ability, auto attack, first ability, and then ult. That's going to be kind of the max damage combo. Then another combo that you can do is instead you can third ability onto them first, then second ability, then ult. Well, actually, I didn't quite do that right. Kind of mistake. So basically, you would third ability, first ability, then second ability, then ultimate. So you have to make sure that you auto attack with your first ability before you do that. Because what's important to keep in mind is if you want to get really quick burst damage off, then you're going to click your first ability before you use your third ability so that you can auto attack right away and get more damage, or get like more quick burst damage. But you're going to get less overall damage because your first ability is an auto attack reset. So if you auto attack first ability, you get more damage from it, but it's slower compared to instantly first ability auto attack and then run away. So it depends if you need to one-shot someone who's pretty low health already, or if they're higher health. So if they're higher health, you'll auto attack then first ability. If they're lower health, you'll instantly first ability because it's quicker. And then again, the most common combo that you're going to do, second ability, third ability, auto attack with your first ability active, and then ultimate right after. And if you do it really quick, I'll kind of show you guys what it'll look like. Basically, it looks something like this, where just really quickly do that, and we get pretty much the max damage off on them that we can get. But again, you can kind of mix and match those abilities depending on what it is that you actually need to get. But that's kind of the gist of Wukong. And then now we'll go on to Varus, as soon as I can find where Varus is located. There he is. All right. I don't know why it makes me take Ghost when it's oh well. So now describing Varus, we'll just first go on to his passive. So his passive gains 60% attack speed for 6 seconds on a champion, kill, or assist. So after you get a kill or an assist, you get 60% attack speed, and you get 30% if you kill a non-champion. So even if I kill a minion, I get 30% attack speed. So that's why you kind of want to fight after using a minion with Varus. So then Varus, his first ability drags a arrow, and then the longer that you charge up the arrow, the more damage it does, and the longer range it has. So if you do it right away, it's pretty low damage, but then if you charge it up and you make it a longer range, then it does more damage overall. Then his second ability has a passive that basically every time that you do an auto attack, you do more magic damage and you apply a blight stack. And each blight stack does more damage after you use an ability on it. So basically, if you notice, there's going to be a little circle around this minion. Notice, or around this dummy, you see that one circle. It can go up to 3 circles. And then after using an ability on those circles, I pop them and it does bonus damage. And then the active part of this ability doubles the bonus damage from Blighted Quiver's passive on your arrow. So basically, if you have some stacks on someone and then use second ability with your arrow, then you do more damage to them because the second ability makes your first ability do more damage. Even clicking the second ability will still make it do more damage if you don't have stacks on them, but it's better to do it once they have stacks on them. And then your third ability does a flurry of arrows that provides some damage as well as anti-heal onto the enemy, and it slows them as well. And then your final ability is your ultimate. Your ultimate roots whoever it hits and then makes a circle around them, which will spread to anyone in the area. So I'll put a second dummy here so you can see what I mean. So it puts a circle around like this, and then the circle slowly spreads to other people in the area. And when you ult someone, you will slowly build up those stacks as well that you build from your auto attacks. You can notice how the circle slowly goes around him, 1, 2, and then 3. And so the gist of Varus is your damage is based around your second ability stacks. And so you want to make sure that you use ideally you get your abilities off on the stacks. So a common thing that you might do is you might ultimate, second ability, walk away, and then use your first ability to pop the stacks. And then after that, you might start auto attacking someone and then use your third ability to pop more stacks afterwards. Because any ability, even your ultimate, pops those stacks and does damage. So ideally, you're kind of doing it in a cycle where you pop stacks with 1 or 2 abilities, then you get some more off with some different abilities, that type of thing. Or other times you might just be, doing damage from a range if you can't get towards, close enough to auto attack the enemy. But that's kind of going to be the gist of Varus. I would say the optimal combo that you're typically going to do is you're going to ultimate, second ability, kind of run backwards, use your first ability, and then as you're using that, you go back towards them, you start autoing again, and then you use your third ability to pop some more stacks. That's going to be the most common ability that you're going to use. If you want the absolute maximum damage combo, if someone's just sitting right in front of you, you would auto attack them probably twice, then you would ultimate them, then you would first ability with your second ability, and then you would auto attack some more, and then third ability. So that's overall kind of going to be the typical combo you would do with Varus. And then lastly, we have Thresh. So we'll quickly upgrade our abilities here, and we'll show you guys the passive. So the passive, basically you get souls whenever an enemy or a minion or anything basically dies around him. Any like enemy, even you know, camps or jungle camps, anything like that. Some of them will drop souls. They have a chance of dropping souls, and if they do drop souls, you pick them up. You get 2 armor and 2 AP. So we'll quickly go kill a minion to show you what we mean here. So you can see this stack right here. So if I go and pick up this little soul that I'm pointing at, I gain one of my stacks you can see called Damnation, and I get 1 soul harvested, which gives me 2 AP and 2 armor. So he's really good against AD champions because of that. And then talking about the abilities, so his first ability is a hook. Basically, it's a skill shot. You throw it out, and then it'll hook someone towards you. And if you recast it after hooking someone, then you dash towards them. So you see I can dash towards them afterwards. Then we have my lantern. Your lantern, if you throw it on yourself or a teammate, it gives a shield. And then a teammate can click the lantern, or they can click the minion button by your attack button, like the minion attack button. And then it'll bring them towards you. So if an enemy clicked, or a teammate clicked that right now, rather, then they would be brought towards me wherever I am, but you can't go out of the circle's range, or else then they, you know, it will expire. So you can use it either for shielding, or you can use it for bringing a teammate away from the enemy or towards an enemy, whatever it is that you want. Then your third ability is basically it's called a flay. It either brings someone towards you if you drag it towards you like this, or it pushes them away if you push them away, and it does damage as well. Then lastly, your ultimate does damage in, like, it does basically a box, and then anyone who walks in the box takes damage and gets slowed by 99%. So here, that did damage to him, and it also slowed him. Obviously, you can't see because it's a dummy. Dummies can't move because they're dumb, but that's basically the gist of it. And then lastly, I forgot to describe the empowered auto attack, which is the third ability passive. And so the third ability passive, your basic attacks will deal more damage based on how long it was since Thresh attacked. And so if it becomes all the way, notice this bar, this orange bar under my mana. Basically, if I auto attack, it does bonus damage, but then I'm doing less damage because it hasn't built up. But then if I let it build up again, you can see the yellow bar slowly charging up. If it builds up all the way to orange, then again, it'll get to the maximum bonus damage that I would do. Now, when it comes to combos, oftentimes you're going to third ability to make it easy to hit someone, then you first ability right after, so that you can guarantee landing your ability, and then you'll ultimate when you drag them close to you. So that's going to be one combo. The other is going to be starting with your first ability, well, your first ability, ultimate, and then third ability to bring them into your ultimate. And then you can do you can do lantern with these. So you could hypothetically, if you wanted, you could hook and then lantern immediately. Then you could take your thing, follow up, and then bring your teammate there with you by clicking your first ability again to dash, and then all that. You can kind of do all these different types of combos together. And you can also do a first ability flash combo. So I could first ability, then flash to extend the range. Then I can pretty much use my flay like that type of thing. You can have some fun with this type of thing. You know, bring them however you want. Ultimate after, lantern your teammate towards you. All those types of things. Pretty much the gist of Thresh. That's why I really enjoy this champion. I've been rank 1 at him a couple times. A lot of the champions I'm playing right now, I've been rank 1. I've been rank 1 Thresh, rank 1 Varus, rank 1 Warwick. A lot of the other champs I'm playing, I've been like top 10 on as well. So yeah, that's kind of the overall gist of the champions and their builds. Just wanted to make sure you guys understand how to play these champions if you're planning to learn them or anything like that, which is why I created this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.